Gonna talk very quickly, though, about Wonder Wheel, and then we're gonna cut to break once more. Viso and I are hitting the ground running. We're talking about Cinemark Movie Club. But right now, we're talking Wonder Wheel, okay, the new Woody Allen film. So, out of everything with this new film, okay, Woody Allen makes a movie a year. He's made a movie a year since the 80s, okay? Last year, we got Cafe Society. It was okay. Had some moments with Steve Carell, with Kristen Stewart, Jesse Eisenberg. It was a decent movie. It was fine. Then in the year before that, we had Irrational Man, which was absolutely terrific. Year before that, we had Magic in the Moonlight, which is in my opinion, one of Allen's best movies. So now we've kind of hit a downward... Not a downward spiral, but we've hit a little bit of a slump with Wonder Wheel, which is very disappointing because everything from the trailer to the cast to the movie poster suggested this was going to be a really memorable, worthwhile event. Woody Allen's Wonder Wheel is going to be remembered for one thing, and it's quietly impacting visual effects, okay? It is set in 1950s Coney Island, and cinematographer Vittorio Storaro uses digital effects in an uncommonly natural way that involves bringing bygone locations back to life. And he uses 1950s Coney Island with practical effects, shot on location B-roll, and a lot of digital wizardry that's interwoven with one another so naturally that you wish the location of the movie served more than as a backdrop. The film revolves largely around Ginny, played by Kate Winslet, and her second husband, Humpty, played by Jim Belushi. Their home rests near the boardwalk of Coney Island, close enough where they can see the festivities of Coney, but as well as the famous Ferris wheel, which is the titular landmark of the film. And it's a dingy, dilapidated cavern where they live that serves as really a transitory location for the family. You have Ginny and Humpty. You have Humpty's stepdaughter, Carolina, played by Juno Temple, great actress Juno Temple, who is back living with her stepfather, or her father and her stepmother. And the meat of the movie really consists around a lifeguard named Mickey, played by Justin Timberlake. Kate Winslet's Ginny begins cheating on her husband with the lifeguard Mickey, and then soon enough, Carolina, the stepdaughter, gets wrapped up in a relationship with the lifeguard as well. And then it becomes a little bit of a hostile energy because Humpty is a recovering alcoholic. He's pretty abusive towards Ginny as well. And even Ginny's young son, Richie, played by Jack Gore from her first marriage, has his own quirks. He loves to start fires wherever he goes, and this is kind of a recurring joke in the movie. And that is my main beef with Wonder Wheel, is that it feels like a lot of ideas it's like ideas stew in this movie. There's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of interesting quirks, there's a lot of cool scenery, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It honestly has more in common with the tragic works of Woody Allen, like September and like Match Point, where even scenes inside Ginny's home take on really darker elements. The lighting is even dim, and you see Humpty, played by Jim Belushi, who's the best actor in this whole film. It should be Kate Winslet. Jim Belushi's the best actor in the whole film. Figure that one out. Humpty carries this like unpredictable level of anger with him that is obvious as his trademark blue-collar Italian garb in the form of a work shirt with a half-heartedly cloaking wife beater. And it's really interesting, though, the way that this movie has a lot of ideas. Allen has a lot of thoughts with this movie and a lot of interesting, relationships, but they don't mesh together very well. I'll say it right now because everybody else is going to say it too, and I agree. Justin Timberlake is horrible in this movie. It's very rarely does Woody Allen have a bad actor in his movie. He's worked with Miley Cyrus in his show Crisis in Six Scenes, and she was great in the movie. He brings the best out of Jesse Eisenberg. He's brought the best out of Joaquin Phoenix, Emma Stone in multiple movies. In this decade, he has done more for actors that have bigger, more respectable names than he does, and he can't make Justin Timberlake work. The role would have been better handled by, I think, Drake Bell, Dave Franco, somebody, but not Justin Timberlake. He never adapts. He never meshes. He's far too contemporary for Woody Allen, and he's far too contemporary for this movie, too. In addition, Kate Winslet really is trying to make this her Blue Jasmine, the Kate Blanchett movie directed by Woody Allen too, which got Oscar acclaim too. Kate Blanchett won an Oscar for the movie. But Allen doesn't give her the cohesion that's necessary for this film or her performance to hit as hard as it could. The movie is way too scattershot. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of threads that come together. A lot of people have been saying the movie feels like it's a first draft script. I can kind of agree too. But through all this muddled inconsistency intermixed with some really good visual beauty, again, tip of the cap to Vittorio Storaro for a great commitment to cinematography. The film has its moments. It has some inklings of distinction in direction, okay? For one, there is an audacity that comes with going through the trouble of working with production designers and cinematographers and digital effects artists to craft a lifelike, breathing, period-specific Coney Island and then make a movie about domestic turmoil. Like, there's a really interesting thing there. There's a really interesting element there in this movie that I cannot ignore. And then Alan's illusions that Carolina, the character, again, played by Juno Temple, will end up like her mother, Ginny, will end up like Winslet's character later in her life, are troubling enough that you wish that Alan would have kept the movie focused and more succinct on those characters. Even make it more obvious just to give the movie some tangible effect, you know? But out of all of Alan's movies that detail a woman having a mental breakdown, Wonder Wheel is one of the weakest. I've always said this before. Woody Allen is one of the few males in Hollywood, one of the few male writers I can think of that writes women so well, in my opinion. I think that he writes women very well. Even back to the days when he was working with Mia Farrow, on 13 different movies. Go back to Husband and Wives. Go back to September, I mentioned earlier. Go back to these movies and look at the way that he portrays women. Now, there's some more problematic examples. I would argue this, in a way, is a little bit problematic. Wonder Wheel, The Curse of the Jade Scorpion. I like it a lot. There's some touchy elements, 1940 specific Americana in there, I will say. But at the end of the day, Woody Allen really knows how to write good female characters. And it's not that he writes bad female characters in Wonder Wheel. He doesn't make them succinct enough, nor does he develop them enough and drive home any particular point. As with most movies made by him right now, he's 81 years old. His movies have some memorable elements, even if they all feel like another rewrite and some concentration away from meshing together and making a good film. Wonder Wheel spins its gears in a weird fashion, and while it doesn't become so redundant that you notice some of the rust, it doesn't leave much to the imagination that isn't already inspired due to an average Allen screenplay. It's good for the Jim Belushi's performance in this movie, which is among one of his best in recent years. It is good for the tremendous cinematographical work by Storaro. It is otherwise a very average Allen movie and a mediocre drama. 2.5 out of 4 stars, a kind 2.5 out of 4 stars for Wonder Wheel, all things considered.